It's 2026 and a new version of Dead or Alive 6 has just launched, which should be exciting, but unfortunately the launch of this game has not gone very well and there's a lot of negativity surrounding it. Fortunately, however, I think the problem is very simple, a problem that they've always had with this franchise, and actually I know how to fix it. Now, whether you follow fighting games or not, Dead or Alive is a very special series because it goes way beyond just a fighting game. Obviously there are 6 fighting games and a 7th one on the horizon, but this is also a movie franchise. This is also a free-to-play mobile game. This is also a paid story visual novel game, and it's also a beach volleyball game. That is not something you can say about almost any other fighting game franchise out there. Dead or Alive is really special for these reasons. However, the company that runs it does seem to make the same mistake over and over and over again. And I'm not going to string this out. I'm not going to tell you right at the end of the video what the problem is. The problem with Dead or Alive 6 Last Round, and by extension all of Dead or Alive, which is very simple and I think quite easy to fix, is that it's difficult to be a fan of Dead or Alive. Now, what do I mean by that? Let's talk about this game in particular. What I've got here on screen right now is just the free version of this game, Dead or Alive 6 Last Round Core Fighters. Now, on the plus side, there is a free version of this game. So even though they've relaunched it, you don't actually have to buy Dead or Alive 6 Last Round. You can get the free version, and if the character that you actually play the most isn't in the game, you can just buy that one character. Obviously not ideal if you want to go into training mode and you want to practice and learn other characters so that you can be good at the fighting game. You're better off buying the full game. But the problem with buying the full game is that it's obviously not a value package. First of all, Kula and Mai, which a lot of people bought as DLC in the previous game, you have to buy them again. And that would be fine if this was a brand new game. But as far as we can tell so far, there aren't that many changes to the mechanics. There are plenty of videos out there talking about why this game is not worth buying at the full price. But what really matters for Dead or Alive fans is, does this affect the launch of the next game? Dead or Alive 7, which as far as I'm aware is already in development. Now, as a Dead or Alive fan, I'm not just saying the fighting game, just as a Dead or Alive fan in general, I want Dead or Alive 7 to succeed. I don't even think Dead or Alive 6 ever really appeared at the EVO tournament series. I think the whole core values thing happened when this game, the original Dead or Alive 6, launched, and then I think it just never made it into the tournament series after that. And to clarify, I mean, as a main title, people play Dead or Alive 6 at tournaments all the time. That's not a problem. So I'm not here to spread any extra negativity about the game. You can already look up all the things that they should have done in this game that they kind of really didn't. I'm also not here to shill the game, because the main issue here is that if you do either, if you talk negatively about the game or if you talk positively about the game, it's a lose-lose scenario for a content creator, as a fan, even just a person writing a review about this game. There's just no winning. Because if you say something negative about the game, that hurts Dead or Alive 7, which means we may never get any more of this franchise. As a fighting game, it might just die as a fighting game. And honestly, that's a very real possibility. But if you talk positively about the release of this new version, Last Round, Dead or Alive 6, you're also going to be labeled as a shill, and you're going to lose trust from your fans. Because obviously, this is quite a low value proposition, spending money on the full version of this game only to lose characters that you had before, not gain anything in terms of mechanics, not get rid of mechanics that people already kind of despised before, not fix certain bugs. All of these things are problematic. Let's not even talk about rollback. But like I say, I think the solution to this is actually quite simple, and it's the solution that they've been looking for Dead or Alive this whole time. I'm not saying it's easy to fix, but it is simple in its concept. The simple concept behind fixing DOA in general is make it easy to be a fan of this game. Now, I mean that in two main ways. The first main way that it's difficult to be a fan of this game is that as soon as you play this game, which has very beautiful characters, the graphics are beautiful, the character designs are beautiful, the stages look stunning. This one particular stage has slightly nicer lighting than before, but it's only this one stage. But again, we're not talking negatively about the release of this game. The problem with being a fan of the looks of these pretty characters in this game makes it instantly sound like you're not serious about fighting games. In the fighting game community, there are lots of different games, but if you play Dead or Alive 6, you're instantly going to be labeled as a person who is only really playing because it has pretty characters, and you're in it for like the looks of the characters and not like the mechanics of fighting games. But now that we have 6 versions of this game, I think it's very clear to see that there is a strong mechanical system in this game. It has the hold system, has critical hit. I think it's already been proven in tournaments, and just the fact that there are already 6 versions of this game, that there is obviously a deep enough fighting game in here that you don't have to just be in it for the characters looking nice. Like, you can be in it for the gameplay as well. But even so, it's still difficult to be a fan of this game because it has like the franchises like Venus Vacation, Dead or Alive Extreme, Dead or Alive Prism, where those are also part of the franchise. It's just like, okay, these people aren't interested in fighting games. They're really only interested in characters looking pretty, which shouldn't be a problem, right? People should be allowed to do both, right? Why can't we have both is the meme, right? Why can't people like a game that looks pretty and has great graphics, but also be interested in playing fighting games with good mechanics? So this is the crux of the first point, which is make it easier to be a fan of this franchise in general. Make it less embarrassing to be a Dead or Alive fan. That doesn't mean they have to get rid of all the spin-off games. That doesn't mean they have to get rid of the bikinis in this game. It just means they need to also put some effort into the other stuff, like male characters in general, but also more costumes that are just interesting, tie-ins with other franchises that are not just more of the characters wearing bikinis again. Let's not forget that having characters in skimpy outfits is not weird even in a game like Street Fighter 6, but it's quite difficult to say that you're a fan of Dead or Alive because there is this stigma attached to it. And I think that this could be fixed with marketing, could be fixed with other costumes, it could be fixed with more focus on mechanics in the game. Like, you can even see right here, they made Kasumi's default costume in this game to be like this full bodysuit. It's almost like passive aggressive. Instead of saying, okay, we're going to be more fair with the costumes in this game, we're going to give them loads of outfits that are just super cool looking. It's going to have the word Supreme posted on it. They're going to have all of these baggy shirts and baggy jeans, and they're going to have a large variety of other things that are not just bikinis. Instead, they took the passive-aggressive route and they said, okay, you can have nothing. Here's a character who is basically invincible if she falls off a motorcycle. And that takes me on to point number 2. So point number 1, obviously make it easier to be a Dead or Alive fan. But point number 2, make it easier to be a supporter of the game. So obviously there are consumers who just buy the game. Maybe they actually only want to buy a pretty game with cool costumes. That's totally fine. That's valid. Those people bring in money and the game can be developed. But there are also people who play this game in tournament and spend hundreds of hours of their lives practicing this game. And there are also people who organize these tournaments, people who organize communities for these games. And there are people who are just content creators for these games. And I'm not saying that content creators fully control over whether a game succeeds or not, but they are a big part of the marketing. I would say that a lot of companies just outsource their marketing to influencers now because it's very, very effective. And I assume a lot cheaper than actually expensive regular old marketing campaigns. But like I said about Kasumi's costume here, actually coming off as a bit passive aggressive. It's like, okay, if you don't want bikinis, we'll give you the polar opposite. A character who you literally couldn't kill if she fell off a motorcycle. That's going too far, and that makes it harder to be a supporter of this game. Because when the game comes out, even if Dead or Alive was my main game that I covered on this channel, which it isn't, that shouldn't matter. It should still be easy for anyone who is a content creator or just a person on Steam reviewing the game, or a person on x.com making a Twitter post for this. It should be easy for them to go, okay, the game has problems, but let's buy it anyway, let's support it because we believe that Koei Tecmo has our backs. We believe that they're doing the best that they can for Dead or Alive 7. At the moment, it doesn't feel like that, and so it feels ingenuine for a content creator or Steam reviewer or just a random person on x.com to say anything nice about the game. And if no one feels comfortable saying nice things about the game, you can see how that will have a knock-on effect on not just Dead or Alive 6 Last Round, but also Dead or Alive 7. Now, obviously, my take on this situation is slightly biased by the fact that I'm a YouTuber, but here's the point. I am not buying Dead or Alive 6 Last Round, and I'm not doing it to spite them or anything. It just doesn't seem like a very good value proposition for me. I already have Dead or Alive 6. As far as I can tell, not much has actually changed. And I personally don't actually play this game competitively, so I'm not even going online. I don't need to have the version that everyone else is playing. And if I really did want to play the game online, I can play the free version, pay money for the one character I know how to use, and then go online and play other people with the new mechanics. Which, of course, I don't think there actually are any new mechanics in this version of the game, but that's besides the point. Those 2 points. Number 1, make it easier to be a fan of this game, so just less embarrassing in general. And 2, make it possible to support this game without losing my integrity. I want to support this game without people saying, NihongoGamer has become a shill of Dead or Alive and wants to like support this company even though they're making like really poor decisions and selling us stuff. And cash grab is the word that you hear going around a lot. But this probably doesn't count as a cash grab because it's probably not going to make much. It's probably not going to make them much cash. So it's just a grab. They're just kind of grabbing at nothing and they're not getting anything. It's just a grab, which is actually quite fitting because this is a game which actually features quite a lot of grabbing. This is my take on the situation. I like this franchise, and I'm not particularly good at the game, but I do want to see what they can do with Dead or Alive 7. And since the game already seems to be in development, I think that if they can make any decisions that will turn this situation around and actually do what they wanted, which was give Dead or Alive 7 a running start, I would like to see them do it. I think the word I'm looking for is good faith. At the moment, as a content creator or anyone who's just a player of this game, it's not clear that they actually want to do right by their consumers, by their players, and by their content creators. But if they could make us have faith in them, if they could make it easier for us to believe that they actually want the best for this fighting game, they could just kill off this fighting game and they would still have plenty of money from all of their other franchises that involve the characters but aren't fighting games. On the plus side, I'm excited that they do want to make another fighting game, so hats off to them there. But it would be so much easier to be a supporter of this game if they had better communication and if they actually made decisions like releasing the game in a way that provides value for the money that they're charging for it. Now, in their defense, you can still play this version of the game for free. Like what I've got right here, this is the free version of the game, Core Fighters. Credit where credit's due, at least they're not making the paid version the only version of Last Round. But if they want content creators and game players and consumers to believe that they actually want what's best for Dead or Alive 7, they could do things like communicate about rollback netcode. We all know that rollback netcode is very expensive to implement. So if you had said, sorry, we just cannot put rollback in this game. We understand that you want it, but that's not going to happen. It is going to be in Dead or Alive 7 though, right? If they had a communication style like that, then we'd all be like, okay, that's fine. However much you want to charge for the game, that's totally fine. We get it. We just want to have a last round version of the game to tie us over until Dead or Alive 7 comes out. But as far as I'm aware, that's not actually what happened. I think they just didn't say anything about rollback, which made us think that maybe the whole point of Last Round was that they were going to release this game with rollback. Obviously, a week before the game came out, still no talk about rollback, and then the game came out, and it doesn't have rollback. So it's like, we actually wouldn't have been annoyed about the lack of rollback if you had just said it's not going to have rollback. Like, quite simply, if you just go, look, if you buy this game, it will help support Dead or Alive 7, and we're going to do the best to make it a good value proposition for you. Unfortunately, it won't have rollback. And we'd be like, okay, good. Make Dead or Alive 7 amazing, and actually just put some value into the game. I'm afraid that this lighting on this stage, it looks okay to me. I don't know if this actually looks significantly different to the previous version of the stage, but also, why is it only this one stage? Really, in summary, all I'm trying to say is what I said at the start of the video. It's very simple, and it's the problem that Dead or Alive has always had. 1, make it less embarrassing to be a fan of this franchise, and 2, make it easier to actually support this game with some kind of integrity. Because as a content creator, I can't like tell people this is a good value proposition if it's not. But if you told us things that made us believe that you were trying your best to make this a good value proposition, we would support it. And that would drum up positive support for the game. And even if they can't put things like rollback in it, we'll still be like, okay, but we're fans and we're proud to be fans, and we're going to put money into Dead or Alive 6 Last Round anyway because we want want Dead or Alive 7 to be better. But if it's not communicated properly, there is the fear that they're going to take this money, quit Dead or Alive 7 because maybe it seems like it's not going to make them enough money, and then they'll just take the money, run away, and then put it into the gacha game or whatever else. So honestly, I see it as quite a simple thing to fix. It does take effort, it does take time, and it does take money, but I think the solution is actually to a very simple problem, which is that it's just difficult for fans to support this game. And if this were a game that made us want to support them, even when they make bad decisions, I think there is a higher chance that new versions of the game could succeed. But maybe you disagree. Let me know in the comments section below after I just punch myself with my microphone. Let me know in the comments what you think could actually be done to save this situation, because I really want Dead or Alive 7 to launch, but it doesn't make any sense for me to spend money on Dead or Alive 6 Last Round, which is actually probably one of the biggest ways that you could support the game, like Dead or Alive 7 coming out. But anyway, that's how I feel. Maybe you think it's actually not that simple and there's actually something much deeper going on. Let me know in the comment section below what you think could be done to set this game in a good place for Dead or Alive 7 to come out with fists swinging and a running start. I've been NihongoGamer. Hope you've enjoyed this. I'll see you real soon.